Sherry Palmieri, Fox 6 News.
Of paternity fraud are fighting for new laws that could free them. They are paying child support for children that aren't even theirs. Experts say it can happen to anybody, but in tonight's special assignment, Fox 6's Sherry Palmieri explains how military men are often targeted.
Taron James never dreamed when he returned from the Gulf War he would end up here.
You need to stop this.
Fighting against paternity fraud after he says he became a victim of it.
I'm paying child support for a child that isn't mine and I don't even know.
A woman he says he had had a 2-week fling with a year earlier put his name down as the father to her newborn. James says he didn't even find out until he returned from his tour of duty.
Military men are targeted because of the benefits and because they're overseas and often aren't around to challenge it.
They had gone to court without my knowledge. They got a default judgment against me, and the only way I was informed was when DMV took my driver's license away from me.
Despite a DNA test that confirmed James is not the father and a signed statement from the mother admitting James is not the father, 10 years later he is still being forced to pay child support.
To this point, I'm out $50,000. I'm out a college education. Everything is just about flushed, and right now I'm homeless. It can't get much worse than that.
James tried to stop child services from garnishing his wages, but a judge denied the request. In his judgment, the judge wrote, "The evidence is overwhelming James is a victim of fraud. This is one of the most unjust results a judge could render, but based on the laws on the books in California, there is no discretion to hold otherwise." From the day a child is born, the man has 2 years to contest that he's the father and 6 months to contest a judgment. If he's 1 day late, he could be locked into paying child support for 18 years.
The reason the laws are set up the way they are is that it's important for us to get the cooperation of the fathers to come in and say either they are, or if they're not, for us to know that so that we can go through the process of finding the actual father.
Child Services says the longer they wait to track down a father, the more difficult it becomes to find him, and the longer the child has to wait to get financial support.
At minimum, 100,000 men per year in the United States are being misidentified as the father. That's minimum, probably much higher than that. And so we know that a lot of these men are also having judgments against them and getting locked into it.
James is fighting for new laws. AB 252 is a proposed bill that would help victims get relief and give the court more discretion while extending the time period a man has to challenge a judgment with DNA.
It's a complex issue that does not easily lend itself to simple solutions.
Pat Washington is with the San Diego chapter of the National Organization for Women. She says AB 252 has problems. For example, she says, what happens to the child when a man agrees to be a child's father, then later changes his mind?
There's nothing in this legislation, for example, that protects the best interests of the child first and foremost.
James says he'd like to someday have his own child, but isn't willing to drag anyone else into what he calls a financial nightmare that will likely tax him for decades to come.
And the fact that they're aware of this and they allow it to continually happen, and there's no remorse about it, there's no I'm sorry.
In Los Angeles, Sherry Palmieri, Fox 6 News.
Earlier this month, the District Court of Appeals overturned a Los Angeles paternity fraud case there. The move that could open the doors for other paternity victims to have their judgments overturned as well. There's more information available. Just log on to our website at fox6.com and click on